Hello everybody, my name is Mickey and I'm here with a new video closely connected to the very first one of the stance trilogy. In this video we're gonna review the background of 3 critical points of the lowering phase and one of the raising phase. Later we're gonna release some content with dryland training drills targeted to work out those routines. I know that many of you wanna listen about inclination and angulation, big edge angle, or how to find balance over the outside ski. But what are the chances of finding balance over the outside ski with a high edge angle, on the slope, uneven surface, with a decent speed in the turn, when somebody cannot accomplish precisely a one-side leg lift or some single leg drills as the HS11 or HS14 from the Ozone Ski Fit workouts at home on the solid ground? I have here a video from a busy day. You can see some good skiers, intermediate ones, but beginners too. Almost all of them ski upright. It is hard to find someone with a lower stance. However, the most striking feature is that nearly everyone is rigid. The surface is uneven, mix of hard pack and softer snow with small bumps. The terrain is challenging, even though almost no one shows any sign of adaptation. Some people think the point is go lower and bend your knees. Another one knows that there is a difference between squat and squat. The point isn't just to squat, but rather than how to squat. The problem is not the physical fitness in the first place. Many people think they must do hard training because they are too weak for a lower position. But critical is how we use our bodies, muscle coordination, mind-muscle connection and habits, but not the power. In the first place, we need to move smarter, not stronger. Stance is a topic at home or in the gym. Ski slopes are a place to construct skiing and turns from the fundamental building blocks. Achieving a better movement quality is a learning process. The brain can learn. Muscles do not have any memory. The so-called muscle memory is located in the brain, not inside of the muscles. With these videos, we wanna help to get better overview of this stuff. You can also find corresponding dryland training drills and workouts for free in our shorts on the YouTube. If you find our activity helpful, you can support us with the thanks button here or with the workouts program subscription on our website. We appreciate all your support and feedback. Every muscle has a default contraction, the so-called muscle tone. A muscle can be longer, shorter, stiffer, looser, depending on the muscle tone. It is not an attribute of the muscle itself. It is a nervous system duty. The muscle tone has nothing to do with the strength, even more with the mind-muscle connection. It works like a habit. We can learn it and change it. For example, when somebody is hunchbacked, he can correct his posture for a minute. After a minute, his stance would be the same as before. For him, the difference between the good and the bad posture is that the hunchback posture means the habitual state of the muscles, the base muscle tone. But keeping the proper posture is an action. Habits do not require attention, but actions do. He returns to the habitual bad posture when he forgets to focus on the proper one. We develop our postural habits on the chair rather than in the gym. And these everyday patterns are the foundations for sports activities. There are only 2 stances in everyday life: standing with straight legs or sitting. We never have to stand with our legs bent, even for minutes. The very basic postural muscle tone comes from the straight stance. That's why almost everyone has rigid legs on the ski slopes. Maybe we can take an athletic stance when we start an exercise or run on the ski slope, but for our mind this is an action instead of a habit. At the first moment when we run out of attentional resources, we can no longer focus on the stance. we will return to the all wrong posture immediately. The solution is we have to develop multiple stance options as habits. Developing habits needs at least two factors: a proper movement form to learn and consistency. To develop a habit is not enough to try a movement a few times. We must work it out regularly. It needs time and a lot of reps. The intensity and the load are beside the point. The main factors are quality and consistency. When moving done, gravity can do the job instead of us. The usual everyday stance works mainly with skeletal support to stay standing. In the case of the skeletal support, we don't have to invest a lot to keep the body. I cannot press this figure together when its legs are straight. It is so stable because of the structure. But when the joints are slightly bent, he can collapse without any effort. After a little bend, the body will fall until we break it or the resistance of the connective tissues stops it. Lowering the stance requires only two interventions at the two endpoints: starting and stopping the movement. And this is how we sit down on a chair or do a squat. We are free to intervene at any time during the lowering phase, but the natural instinct tends to be effective, lazy, so we don't use this opportunity. We let the body fall and stop only at the bottom limit, without permanent braking. The solution is your mind has to experience the sensation of the braking activity of the muscles, the eccentric control. Practice all the squat exercises with 1 second up, but 2 seconds down phase. The lowering phase should be at least twice as slow as how the center of the body can fall without braking. A good idea is to use multiple stops during this slow lowering phase. Our mind heavily relies on the eyes when measuring the height of the stance. When the head is lower, we also think we are lower, which is misleading. We need to adjust the body center rather than the head's position. We must change our minds. We have to focus on the feedback of the muscles instead of the sight and use the eyes only for orientation. The solution is pretty simple. When exercising squat drills, the first step should be fixing our head and the upper body in the original plane or moving slightly back. And just the second task is to start the squat with an ankle flexion from the bottom to top. The first movement when we're standing up from the chair is mostly leaning forward. We place the center of the body over the feet. This rolling movement also helps to lift the buttocks from the chair. The second activity is extending the knees. This movement structure is anterior chain dominant, while the glutes and the posterior chain are passive under stretching. Meanwhile, the posterior chain is the most critical component for an athletic stance, but we don't use it during a usual stand-up. The solution is, as the first movement, try to flex your ankle and pull your feet back closer to the chair with a resistance against the floor, perhaps without actual displacement. You will feel how the backside of your leg stands is up the posterior chain. As the second movement, try to keep the upper body as vertically as possible and lift the buttocks instead of your shoulders. Extend the ankle only when you cannot maintain the balance otherwise. This is a different standing up movement from a chair and much closer to the desired athletic stance. You might say that these are unimportant minor things, but exactly that could be the reason why most people get stuck with this issue. Everyone wants to deal with the drills that are challenging or intensive rather than the simple ones, but the special drills cannot fix the issues of the fundamental movements. You need such exercises as the SQ1 box squat in a workout plan. Sometimes the simple is really hard. The best way is to transfer all this information into your everyday activities and connect them with your workouts. We not only have to change our stance during sports activities, but also our everyday motor routines. Try to focus on something other than the intensity of the exercises. Unfortunately, the load and the intensity works against attention. It is better to do exercises with a lower intensity but a higher level of attention, because it's not about being stronger or gaining muscles, it's about how we learn the timings and the precise sequence of the movements, the quality. Thank you for your attention, have fun, and see you soon here on the ski slopes.